gentlemen, welcome to the Slow Burn, where all professional wrestling storylines live. I am your host, Matt Brannon, bringing you the Slow Burn today on a Friday. Guys, we have had a hell of a week. It has been a huge week in professional wrestling, and I'm not going to lie to you. Yesterday's news, and I'm going to get to this news today. We are not going to preview Dynamite. We're not going to recap Dynamite first. We're not going to recap TNA first. We're not going to preview Smackdown first. We are going to talk wrestling news. I almost did a show yesterday, just like a quick short, to talk about this huge news. But I saved it. I've got to sleep on it. And I'm going to tell you, some of you out there may think you are so freaking crazy with this stuff. Not so much. And here it is, guys. If you were paying attention at all to any nationally televised or nationally news for professional wrestling, you would have heard yesterday that there is a merger. All right, we have a new partnership in the world of professional wrestling, as WWE has now created a multi-year partnership with TNA. I could not be happier for this. This is going to be such a great thing for both companies. For me, being someone that loves TNA, I love to watch TNA. I've made no bones about that. It's such a great alternative to the other stuff that's out there right now. But and it's also it's not expensive to watch their pay-per-views. Okay, so let's call it what it is. I love TNA, but to have them in a new multi-year partnership with WWE says so much about where the world of professional wrestling is right now. The bottom line on this is going to reap huge dividends for TNA especially. Yesterday, I don't remember the numbers. I'm not a social media number guy, obviously, but I will tell you, yesterday's number for TNA on X when they announced the partnership was the most viewed that they've ever had in the history of their company with X. So, I mean, that shows you right away that this is already playing off. Now, I want to make this very clear. This partnership could be a huge benefit for WWE as well, okay? Because you're going to get a fresh group of talent that you can really spice up storylines with. And at the same time, you're going to be able to send those younger guys, especially the ones that have signed the WWE name, image, and likeness contracts. You can sign in these guys to their contracts and then let them go work with TNA. That's the one thing about NXT. They're mostly at the Performance Center in Orlando. So they haven't had that idea of traveling that professional wrestlers have, or setting up the rings and things. It's a different world than what old school wrestling is. So WWE can get their talent some more of that taste, while at the same time TNA gets this great exposure. Now, if you're not familiar with this and the whole situation of WWE and TNA, a few months back in 2024, we had a crossover with WWE and TNA. I'm sure you guys know about this. If you're watching me, you've watched this. But what you saw here was a star catch fire. You guys know I've been very clear about my love for Joe Hendry. And we saw Joe Hendry coming over and competing for the title in NXT. I mean, he had some great matches. He had some great tag matches as well. But Joe Hendry got so much pub. We also saw Jordan Grace this year. She was in the Royal Rumble. I think she'll be in the Royal Rumble this year as well. But she was in the Royal Rumble. And then she has that crossover. She has that little feud with Roxanne Perez. I mean, guys, think about this right now. We could have Roxanne Perez. We could have Jordan Grace. We could have Masha Slamovich from TNA. Put those in with Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, Kalani Jordan. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Lash Legend, I got to add her too. Cora Jade. This roster could be so loaded. Now, that's just NXT. Jordan Grace is ready to move on. She's ready for the main roster. I'll tell you that straight up right now. There's no doubt in my mind that she's ready. But the thing of it is now you got a little bit of leeway to play with it. And the other thing I like here is that it gives creative a chance to kind of collaborate with someone else, and then you can kind of intertwine these stories with the different shows and the different brands. Now, with that said, though, I want to be very clear. I don't want TNA to become another WWE brand. I don't want there to be Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and TNA. I don't want that. I need TNA to stay as its separate self. I mean, TNA has been our healthy alternative to the WWE for a very, very long time. I mean, if you're like me and you've been watching since forever, the Monday Night Wars left a void. We didn't have that second program. That's why I talk so much about being happy that we have AEW as an alternative. But we've had TNA as an alternative for a very, very long time. And honestly, it's more hot right now than it's ever been. And I want to say this, their storylines that they're running with right now are fantastic. Now, I'm partial because Tommy Dreamer to me is God's gift to wrestling stories. I could listen to him talk about wrestling all day long. I was lucky enough to meet him a few weeks back, and he was absolutely phenomenal. But Tommy has proven to be a creative genius, along with being a wrestling aficionado and the host of Busted Open and an EC Dub legend, by the way. But Tommy's creative has been so good. Now, let's think about this. We could put Tommy's creative along with Shawn Michaels' creative at NXT and what they have going right there, because he has had so many good stories moving through this year as well. I mean, the Chase U stuff was really good. The Tony D'Angelo stuff has been so fantastic. I actually really liked the TNA crossovers, though. If I had to pinpoint my TNA moments, or I mean, I'm sorry, my NXT moments of 2024, I'm going to probably use at least two moments with TNA people. Obviously, one being the Joe Hendry match with Trick Williams would be number one for me. But guys, what you're seeing here is another opportunity to advance wrestling. And I just think that we are living in this world right now where professional wrestling is so big. If you're outside of the wrestling bubble, I get it. But here's what you need to think about. All right. I know, like, my mom's watching this. She hates wrestling because she said she had to take me too much when I was a kid. So, but she can watch this right now and say, well, okay, I get it. This is on Netflix now, or, it's become total national news. We know that. I mean, The Rock is back, for Christ's sake. And now you got a merger. So what you're seeing here is this whole thing continue to grow. Now, if we can have a consistent positive relationship on both sides, I can see no way that this goes wrong. The only way I can see it going wrong is if TNA becomes a brand and they lose their identity. Now, with that said, a few years back, AEW had a partnership with TNA. It was god awful. It didn't work. It almost got swept under the rug. It was almost like nothing had ever happened. That can't happen again, and I don't think it will. Especially with Tommy being in charge of creative and Scott D'Amore not being in the TNA program anymore. Which I love Scott, but Maple Leaf Wrestling. By the way, if pay per view coming up on that, you need to watch it. But what I'm saying here is that you have to be able to let this whole thing grow. And AEW and TNA, when they did their partnership, it just didn't work. And it actually just got swept under the rug. Now, with that said, we're seeing a lot of positives with the AEW New Japan merger. They're still working as separate companies. We have crossovers. We have a crossover pay-per-view. Like, that worked. I would love to see WWE and TNA maybe go to something of that, where we have a crossover pay-per-view down the road. I honestly don't see that happening because of the fact that WWE's brand is so strong. But here you go. You have a chance to increase the world of wrestling again. So awesome stuff. The individual moments of this are going to be so fantastic. And I'm going to tell you guys, Sunday, TNA Genesis, 19th in Texas. I think Joe Hendry is winning this belt off of Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. I think Henry wins this, and I think he is going to be that TNA champion that takes them to the next level with this new partnership. There it is, prediction. It has been called. Joe Hendry beats Nick Nemeth. All right, that's what I'm saying. Sunday, watch Sunday. Triller TV, by the way. I think you can get a TNA app too as well. But I'm a Triller guy now. I was excited. That was good. I was excited. I just think it's so awesome. Like, when I remember when I was a kid, like, I watched WWF, right? I watched the NWA, which was like on the TBS Superstation. WCW is what it will become. I watched the UWF. I watched AWA. I watched World Class Championship. I watched as much of the wrestling as I possibly could, especially when I went to my aunt's house because she had a satellite, so it was fantastic. But what I saw here as this partnership grew, all right, with New Japan and AEW, then you take it back to TNA and WWE. What we're seeing is an explosion. So the excitement is there. So what I'm saying here is, when I was a kid, and I think of all those small little federations, which they weren't small, but man, I would have done anything to see WWF line up with AWA. Now, we got NWA and World Class Championship Wrestling back then when we had the Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich crossover at Texas Stadium. Like that was, or maybe it was at the Cotton Bowl. I don't remember. One of those. Huge pay per view. I love the whole. Remember the image of Ric Flair coming in on the helicopter? Like awesome, awesome stuff. That was a great card too. When you look at it, look that up if you get a chance. That's one thing I want to do. I want to talk about old cards one day. That'd be really fun. But my point is like I think about like if I could have got Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan when they both were champions in different companies. Like that would have been awesome. Or I think back to like AWA. I'm a sucker for Nick Bockwinkel. Yeah, I said it, Nick Bockwinkel. How awesome would it have been to see Nick Bockwinkel against Hulk Hogan in 1986, right after Hogan, or 85 rather. That's a year after Hogan had bailed on AWA. So like I don't know. There's so many different possibilities that you could do with these, and honestly, it makes somebody like myself that likes the fantasy book, it makes it a huge thing. So super happy about this. Let's see where it goes. But again, here it is. It's the first time I'm saying it in the show today. I'm glad I'm here for it. Right. So that brings us to the week of wrestling. Okay. It's been a hell of a week. It's had its ups, it's had its downs. Raw was fantastic. We recapped that. I thought it was the best show they've had in a long time. Was big on NXT. I thought it was good. It could have been better. I want to say this about NXT. I rewatched some of it. Ethan Page is freaking fantastic. All right, if you haven't caught, Ethan Page is unreal, and my boy Javon Evans makes his quick little return and gets beat up again. So there you go. But regardless, that gets us to Wednesday night, and that's Dynamite, guys. Dynamite had its ups and downs. I'm gonna tell you straight up. It started fire. Okay, it started with complete fire with the return of Kenny Omega, but we had another return here. Okay, as my guy at the announce booth, Taz, made his return. I said the other day on the show I didn't know if he would or not. Well, he did, and it was great to hear Taz's voice again. We got some Suplex Jones and all of that. And guys, I love hearing Taz talk about wrestling. So is it weird that like maybe I like to hear all of the ECW guys talk about wrestling? Like I don't know, maybe you're seeing where my loyalties lied. I don't know, maybe, and I like that as I got older too. So, but the Kenny Omega return was great. They put him with Brian Cage. Omega goes over. You knew he was going to go over, and to be honest, I really liked it. They did some stuff that was really special. Kenny Omega always does stuff that's special, but putting him with a powerhouse like Brian Cage was good because Cage can wrestle. But he's also going to take care of his opponent. And I thought he did a really good job. I also thought Omega did a great job at looking strong against Cage. He had no problem in tossing the big boy around. So that was a fantastic match. But then you had the Don Callis family run in. You had the Will Ospreay run in to protect Omega. I said the other day that I didn't really know exactly where this story was going, and I wasn't so sure I liked the combination of Osprey and Omega partnering up like this. I'm gonna go back on it now. Okay, I'm gonna go back on it. I want to see where they go with this. Okay, and the reason being is because I have a feeling that we are setting up. Now, hear me out. I think we are setting up for a Kenny Omega versus Takeshita battle, and that might be the most fun we've seen in a wrestling ring in a very, very long time. So that could be good. Other thing I want to say is can we do something different with the Don Callis family as far as making how their appearance is? I thought Cage in ring looked good, but guys, Lance Archer's a freaking monster, and yet he looks weak. I don't like his perception. I don't like where they're going with that. And again, I know who he is. I mean, you're not getting main event action out of Lance Archer, but I mean, the guy's almost 7 foot tall. He's a freaking monster. He should be a heater every time he steps out onto television. Okay, and I think they're struggling with that with the Lance Archer piece with the Don Callis. I still haven't quite figured that part out where Jake the Snake Roberts made the trade, and I don't know. I don't think Tony's figured it out yet either. But I hope they keep that story moving. All right, that story has a lot of possibilities, and honestly, I think what we could see out of this, not only the Takeshita versus Omega thing, I think we're going to see some more Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay, which I'm good with. The other thing that we could see down the line is that turn where we're going to get, okay, Ospreay and Omega, they're going to be buddies. We're all going to be hunky-dory and have a great time. But then at the end of the day, we could get a turn, and I'm okay with that. But the question is who does the turn? I think it has to be Omega, right? I think Omega has to go heel. You can't put Ospreay heel right now, considering he is probably the hottest thing you have going in the company. So keep the story moving. That's the bottom line, all right? We also had an awesome New York Minute by Chris Jericho in the Learning Tree. I want to say this. I'll do anything with Jericho. Jericho's the man. I wish I was going on the Jericho cruise right now, by the way. Maybe you can book the Slow Burn next year, Chris. How about that? Somebody send some stuff out. Let's get it going. I'll have all you come up as my guests, all of my listeners, all 4 of you. So we'll do that. But the Learning Tree had a New York Minute. I liked it. It's very entertaining. The only problem is we're no longer in New York anymore. We're going elsewhere. That was a whole deal for the Hammerstein Ballroom. That's over. So let's move on from the New York Minute now, and let's just get back to the Learning Tree. Now, with that said, Jericho, amazing. Big Bill is doing amazing work. His stuff right now, he gets better every single time he's on television. And here you go, freaking monster. I'm going to call this 2 years from now, Big Bill. He might be a heavyweight champion. All right, 2 years from now. That's what I'm saying. Just throw it out there. All right, let's keep going here. We had Swerve and Ricochet. Ricochet came down to talk it out a little bit. Swerve chases him out of the arena. This is pretty good. I'm loving the chicken shit heel work that Ricochet is doing. Like, that is solid. And I'm not a Ricochet person. I don't like him. It's not my style. It's not my move. I'm that style. Give me Ospreay. Give me Omega. But Prince Puma, he had it right there. Okay, he wasn't too bad. But my favorite part had to be Nana. All right, it had to be Nana. Nana hitting Prince Puma, Trevor, Ricochet with the chair, enabling things to work out for Swerve. Guys, this is amazing. And I'm telling you, Swerve Strickland is as good as anybody in the business right now. His character work that he's doing is absolutely insane. Let's keep going with this now. All right, let's keep going with this. Let's build off of it, though. Let's not have a freaking match on Collision next week and then say, all right, we're done and we're moving on, and now Swerve's going to go back and fight Hangman again. I don't want that. All right, what we need is some build, maybe a little slow burn. All right, but I completely love Nana's chair shot. I'm always here for Nana, always. All right, that brings us to the Hurt Syndicate squash match. They took on Private Party and Mark Briscoe, Chicken. I talked about that the other day, how I didn't appreciate the idea that Lashley comes in as this huge monster and all of a sudden he's going to go at Private Party. And I knew this match was going to be a squash match, and it totally was. But what we did have, I'm gonna talk the positive first. It was nice to see MVP back in a wrestling ring. I do say that they made it clear like he hadn't wrestled in 2.5 years. That's actually not true, because he wrestled Josh Barnett at Bloodsport like literally 2 months ago. And I believe he did something in New Japan not long ago too. But first time in America, we'll say, or on national television. We'll give it that. But it was good to see him back. He actually had a little bit more action in ring than what I thought. I will say it was nice to see Ballin'. So that was pretty good. The match as a whole, though, was absolute shit. I didn't like it. I thought they made Chicken look good. You know, Mark Briscoe, he looked strong. Private Party, though, looked absolutely weak. I always think that they book Mark Quinn to look a little weak, and usually have Isaiah Cassidy, look a little stronger. He's kind of the hot tag guy, but they both looked weak last night. And maybe that's the plan, is to get the belts off of them and go another direction. But who's it going to be? Is it going to be Lashley and Shelton Benjamin? Is it going to be Lashley and MVP? I don't know. There's a lot of routes you can go with that. In my opinion, it can't be Lashley because he has to go for a singles title. So I don't know. We'll see the direction they go. But overall, that match was not good. It was just a glorified squash match for the Hurt Syndicate, and they come through on it. So I want to move on, but I am glad that they booked Chicken. All right. Also, the thing with this is I see no advancement in this story because you don't know the direction that they're going to go. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to keep holding my breath. I'm not a Lashley guy. Everybody knows that. I do like Shelton Benjamin. I think he deserves a little bit more. I don't know, just me. Or maybe we get maybe Shelton Benjamin versus Lashley down the road. I don't know. We'll see. We had a few other moments happen. I'm going to speed through some of this. We had an MJF, Double J, Jeff Jarrett promo. It was completely cringe. Matter of fact, I don't even want to talk about it. It was bad. MJF has lost all of his momentum right now, and I hate it because he's one of the best in the business. He's one of the best on the mic. He's great in the ring. And right now you have booked him with Jeff Jarrett. You literally have your biggest star. This guy a year ago was on Roman Reigns level. Like he was the big guy. He was their number one. All right, not Roman Reigns level. All right, but he was on a high level. He was the AEW number one guy. Now he's freaking mid. Like he is just mid, and I don't know what they can do with it. It's just not working. Um, and I don't know what we're gonna do with Double J. It's just one of those things that the cringe moments don't work for me. I'm not gonna go through all the shit that was said because it was bad, even for me. And you got there, you're like, oh, it's bad for Matt. It's probably really freaking bad. Um, then we had Hook and Christian. This match was stupid. All right, I know this has been going on for a long time. I get it. They took Taz out, and Hook's getting his revenge and whatever. But you made Christian look extremely weak, and he's holding that freaking championship guarantee right now. Like he is a contender for the championship right now, and yet he loses to Hook on Dynamite. Like, what? I mean, do you hear yourself, Tony? Do you see what's happening here? And man, I love AEW, but this isn't working. This isn't working, okay? Let's move Hook away from Christian. Let Christian get in some type of hunt, and let's move this along. But this story is over. It's dead. That match was awful. All right, thank God it's over. Now, I want to say, at the end of the match, I was glad it was over because we had another return. All right, I loved it. Joe, Joe, Samoa Joe making his return. If you're not familiar with Samoa Joe's work, get familiar with it. All right, he had a decent WWE run. We know that. I mean, he's made the noise, and he's so well liked and respected in the game. So to see him back in the business is going to be good. Also, putting him with Hook and Shibata is such a good move. That's a solid faction. That's a very solid faction. So excited to see where they go with that, even if leading up to it was pure shit. Let's see. I feel like I need to speed up a little bit. The women's casino gauntlet was good. I was completely right. I will say I thought the match was going to be better than it was. It was a B match in my opinion, but I was right. I predicted it correctly. Tony Storm does win, thank God. And what we're going to get at Grand Slam, Tony Storm for the title versus Mariah May. Now, what makes that so big is Grand Slam is in Australia. All right, and we know Tony is from Queensland, Australia. So you're going to get the hometown girl coming back as a rookie. It's going to be fantastic. Also, I love Mariah on commentary. First off, she's nasty. All right, she is. She does not give a damn. But I want to say on commentary, she was really awesome playing into the storyline of the amnesia angle. Yeah, she'd never take on Tony Storm. She's a rookie, but this rookie can really go. And that's quality. That's quality. And it's the best stuff we've seen out of Mariah in a while. So I was good with that, and super glad that we're gonna get Mariah and Tony part two. And I have a feeling we'll be getting Tony back with her belt soon enough. Question is, does Timeless come back with her? I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for it. Even though I said 2 weeks ago I was ready for it. We'll see. How did things end here? Well, we had the main event, the one I talked up, Moxley versus Hobbs. The match was good. Hey, guess what? Moxley bled. Imagine that. By the way, it was an ear bleed. Hobbs bit his earring out of his ear and yanked it out with his teeth. That's a little much, but wow, did it gush. I mean, he had color all over his neck and down into his chest. It was a good one. But the match overall was really, really solid. I want to say Hobbs looked strong. Hobbs looked the way he was supposed to look. That's the way he needs to be presented every single time out. And he did. It was great. The only thing I want to say, my only critique of that match is Hobbs's world's strongest slam is electric. That needs to be his finisher. That's the big honoring Mark Henry. You guys know I love me some Mark Henry. And I think Hobbs could be Mark Henry. He is that level of a talent. And matter of fact, early on in the career, he's more advanced right now than Mark. Now, that probably could be because Sexual Chocolate is his mentor in a lot of ways. But regardless, that was a great match. You knew Mox was going to go over. I said that. He's not going to lose in his hometown. But it was a good match overall. I want to say one thing that I would have liked to have seen happen is Hobbs kind of got standoffish when the Death Riders came in. I would have liked to have seen him get aggressive there. All right, I didn't see a need for him to kind of get, I don't know, kind of reluctant about it. He's a freaking monster. Book him as a monster, taking on all comers. He's going to take on Mox, but Claudio, Wheeler, Pac, and his street clothes, they can all come with it too. However, the ending was solid with the briefcase hit. My question is it over? It's over for now, but we're going to see that match again. That match is coming back again, and rightfully so. We all deserve it. Okay. So overall, Dynamite, it had its ups, it had its downs. I liked Omega coming back. I liked Hobbs looking strong. Tony winning was fantastic, but I just cannot get past some of the other stuff. So I'm grading it as a C plus this week. And that's probably being pretty gracious. All right. Now, I don't want to get a ton into TNA here, guys. We had a great night at TNA last night. Matter of fact, it's one of the better go-home shows I have seen on TNA in probably years. But they really nailed it. Some of the stuff that stuck out with me, first off, Leon Slater is amazing. We had a lot of things go over. I love the tag combo we did with Steve Macklin and Eric Young. It looks like we might be getting a story with them and the system with Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. That is going to be a lot of fun. All right. That is going to be an awesome show. So I'm good for that. Masha and Rosemary had a confessional. It was weird. But again, they're doing Raven's Clockwork Orange match on Sunday. So it had to be weird. That's right. I said Raven, EC Dub, EC Dub. All right. What else do we have? Jake something over Laredo Kid. Josh Alexander had another poor promo. Let's see. What Ace Austin's piece. Ace Austin's piece was awesome. Big shout out to Chris Bay. By the way, Chris, we're all thinking of you. Obviously, get back soon. One of the greatest of all time to ever do it as far as a high flyer and Bullet Club, and we are too sweet, right? So let's get that going. As far as the other thing, though, the one thing I wanted to focus on was how we ended the show. And that's the face-to-face with Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth. Again, guys, watch Genesis on Sunday. If you get a chance. If you haven't watched TNA in a few years, now is the time to get in it, especially with them partnering up with WWE. Why not? You're already watching WWE. I know you are. So I love the fact that Hendry and Nemeth got their face off. Henry was so passionate. Nemeth basically lets him know, I respect you, you're good, but I'm going to whip your ass. And then you had the Hollywood hunk, Ryan Nemeth, Nick's brother, come down, and he has had this like get after idea on Henry for a long time, and he called him out. And then what we ended up seeing was Joe Hendry go after Ryan Nemeth. Nick take up for his brother, super kicks Henry. Henry goes down, and then Nick puts his hands in his face and thinks, what the hell did I do? Now, the bigger part about that is what the crowd was chanting. Kick your brother. Kick your brother. Makes me think that maybe we're going to be getting into something like that. So we'll see. Check it out. Henry and Nemeth in the main event at Genesis on Sunday. If you have nothing going, I think the pre-show starts at 7. Also, the pre-show will be hosted by Busted Open. My man Dave LaGreca, Bully Ray, and Tommy Dreamer, the second best wrestling podcast in the world behind the Slow Burn. All right. Overall, decent night. Now, SmackDown tonight, guys. We're going to have a big night of SmackDown. Hopefully, you guys are all here for it. Cody and KO are not scheduled to be on SmackDown tonight, so they're going to be there and knock the shit out of each other. I'm positive in that. What else do we have going tonight? We know what the main event is going to be. Guys, women's match. Tiffy versus Bayley. This is going to be so good. I cannot wait to see these two dance with each other. Unreal stuff. What else we have? Oh, Solo's return tonight. Let's see where we go with the New Age bloodline. How's this all going to work out? Could be really freaking interesting. All right. Other than that, we got the Motor City Machine Guns. They're going to take on Los Garza. We're adding more to that tag team group on SmackDown, which I'm loving to see. I have a feeling we'll get some more tag teams in that match as well. All right. So overall, great night tonight on SmackDown. You guys be there for it. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Okay, now we are going to end things up again with another PWI random. All right, and we're going back to the women this time. All right, by the way, Timeless Tony Storm represent number 1. All right, here we go. We got to be quick. We are running out of time today, so we are going straight to it. Oh, I went to the wrong part. All right, right here. We are going with number 92. Oh, Giselle Shaw. TNA. She just got released not long ago. But Giselle Shaw, number 92. Somebody that we know. She's done some WWE stuff as well. Maybe we'll see her again soon. I don't know. Anyway, Guys, as always, thank you so much for joining me. All four of you. I really appreciate it. Guys, like us, follow us, do everything you can. This has been the Slow Burn Professional Wrestling Podcast, where all professional wrestling storylines live. Guys, we're wrestling everything. Stay on top.